Good morning, Choice Residential. Hope your day's off to a terrific start. So today I want to talk about seller possession after closing. Now, for years and years, this was a form that as agents, we avoided like the plague. But today it's becoming a much more commonly used form as buyers are trying to create compelling offers for the sellers. And in a lot of cases, they're actually allowing the seller to not only stay after closing, but not have to pay for that privilege as well. But there are some things about this form that you need to be aware of as the agent, and you need to make sure your client is aware of. The first thing is that you have to understand in context what using this form does. It makes the buyer of this property now become a landlord, and it makes the previous owner, the seller, now be a tenant in a property that they had previously owned. And that dynamic is not really what the two parties had ever intended to do, but in order to structure the contract in a way that's beneficial for everyone, that's now what has happened. In previous versions of this form, it used to state that the form could only be used for occupancy of 14 days or less. So you can see on the form now it does say short-term occupancy, but it doesn't define what short-term occupancy is. Now we know that if the buyer is getting a mortgage, that at closing, they're going to sign something. If it's their primary residence that they're purchasing, they're going to sign something that says they intend to occupy the residence within 60 days. So that means that the seller possession form would need to be 60 days or less in order for the buyer to be in compliance with the loan that they're getting. So it's not uncommon that we're seeing that now of 30 or 60 days even that a seller is going to stay after closing. So again, this form used to be used only for 14 days or less occupancy by the seller. Now we're commonly seeing it be 3 or 4 or 5 times or more what it used to be, what the original intention of the form was. Now here's the thing, the seller possession form is not a full lease. It's a very abbreviated document allowing the seller to stay for just a short time after closing. There's lots of stuff that is not covered that would be covered in a standard residential lease. One example is what's the landlord's right to visit the property or access the property while the lease or the seller possession after closing is in place. One example that has come up recently is that an investor was purchasing the property. They allowed the seller to stay afterwards for 60 days, but the new buyer who is going to be renting the property out for a long-term tenancy, they wanted to be able to promote it for rent and show it to new prospective tenants. But what happens if that previous seller, who is now a tenant in the property, does not allow access? The seller possession form doesn't account for that. And so anytime you get in these situations that are kind of outside the norm, make sure that the buyer and the seller have an opportunity to discuss with an attorney what the implications are of them agreeing to this seller possession after closing. It doesn't always play out as smoothly as we would like. And when things go sideways on deals like this, they can go really sideways quickly. So make sure you're looping in an attorney when appropriate and that you have a complete and full understanding of this form and that your client is truly reading and understanding the document, not just signing it along with the other 10 documents that were just sent to them through dotloop. You want to make sure they've really honed in on the terms and understand what it means for them and their situation. If you have any questions, as always, please reach out to me. I'm here to help. Otherwise, make it a fantastic day.